Have you ever said goodbye to someone and just walked away without giving it a second thought? Maybe you waved from your car, or texted bye at the end of a conversation, or hugged a friend at the airport and said the word without even really hearing yourself say it. We say goodbye without thinking or wondering where it came from. It just comes out. It sounds friendly. It sounds warm. And it feels like the natural way to end almost any interaction. But have you ever stopped to ask what the word actually means? Or where it started? Today, we are exploring the story behind one of the most common words in the English language and the surprisingly deep history hiding inside it, right here on the Lost History of Everyday Things. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification icon. If you have ideas for future episodes, please leave them in the comments. The word goodbye seems simple on the surface. It is short, it rolls off the tongue, and most people say it dozens of times a day without a second thought. But the truth is, most people that say goodbye do not know where the term came from. It is not just a random combination of sounds. It actually began as a much longer phrase, and over hundreds of years it was worn down, shortened, and reshaped into the word we use today. Goodbye began its life as a blessing. Centuries ago in England, people did not simply say goodbye when they parted ways. Instead, they said something closer to, "God be with ye." This phrase was a genuine wish, almost like a small prayer, asking for divine protection over the person who was leaving. Travel in those days was dangerous. Roads were unsafe. Illness was common, and there was no guarantee that you would ever see the person you were parting from again. So, when someone said, "God be with ye," they meant it sincerely. It was not just a polite phrase. It was a hope, a wish for safety, and sometimes the last words exchanged between two people before a long and uncertain journey. Over time, as language naturally shifts and simplifies, "God be with ye" was said so often and so quickly that it began to blend together. It became Godbwye, Godbwye. Then eventually, Godbye, Godbye. Around the 16th and 17th centuries, English speakers were also fond of using the word good in greetings, such as good day and good evening. It is believed that this pattern influenced the word further, and God was gradually replaced with good, giving us the version we recognize today, goodbye. So, in a strange twist, the word we use so casually actually started as a heartfelt religious blessing and slowly transformed into something far more casual, almost losing all trace of its original meaning along the way. This kind of transformation is not unique to English. Many farewell words across different languages carry a similar story, where a phrase that once held deep meaning slowly became an everyday expression. Take the French word adieu, for example. It literally means to God. And much like the early English farewell, it was originally used when people expected a long or permanent separation, entrusting the other person to God's care. Interestingly, the French also use au revoir, which means until we see each other again. And this version is used far more often in daily life because it carries a lighter, more hopeful tone, rather than the finality that adieu can suggest. In Spanish, the word adios follows a nearly identical pattern to the French adieu. It also comes from a phrase meaning to God, reflecting a similar cultural history where farewells were tied closely to religious faith and the uncertainty of travel. In Italian, the story takes an unexpected turn. The word ciao actually comes from an old phrase meaning, "I am your servant," or "I am your slave," which was a humble and respectful way of showing devotion to the person you were speaking to. Over centuries, this phrase was shortened and softened until it became the casual, cheerful ciao that people now use for both hello and goodbye. Japanese offers another fascinating example. The word sayonara is often translated simply as goodbye, but its roots carry a more poetic meaning. It comes from a phrase that essentially means, "if it must be so," or "since it must be this way." In other words, sayonara carries a quiet sense of acceptance, acknowledging that a parting is necessary even if it is not entirely wanted. It is a much more emotional and reflective farewell than the casual way it is often used today. Hawaiian culture gives us the word aloha, which is unusual because it is used as both a greeting and a farewell. Aloha carries meanings connected to love, peace, and compassion, and using the same word to say hello and goodbye reflects a cultural philosophy where connection and warmth are considered constant, whether people are arriving or leaving. Hebrew offers something similar with the word shalom, which means peace, and is used both when meeting someone and when parting from them. In both of these cases, the farewell is not really about separation at all. It is about wishing continued peace and goodwill on the person, regardless of whether they are coming or going. So why did humans across so many different cultures develop these special words and rituals for parting? The answer likely lies in something deeply human. Saying goodbye is not just a practical announcement that a conversation or meeting is ending. It is a small ritual that helps people process separation, especially in times when travel was risky and reunions were never guaranteed. These farewell phrases gave people a way to express hope, protection, and love in just a few words, right at the moment when it mattered most. Even a simple phrase like "take care" carries some of that same instinct today. A small wish for someone's safety as they walk away. As centuries passed and travel became safer, and as daily life sped up with new technology like telephones, cars, and eventually the internet, farewells naturally became shorter and more casual. Today, most people are not worried that saying goodbye to a friend means they may never see them again. Because of this, many farewells have been shortened even further. Goodbye is often replaced with quick and casual alternatives like bye, see ya, later, or even just a small wave or a nod. In text messages and online chats, people often abbreviate things even more, using phrases like TTYL, meaning talk to you later, or simply sending an emoji instead of typing any words at all. It is interesting to think about how something that once carried the weight of a spoken blessing has been reduced to a single syllable, or even a wave of the hand. Language has a way of doing this. Words that begin with deep or spiritual meaning often become smoothed down through everyday use, losing their original weight, but gaining new life as simple, familiar habits. Goodbye is a perfect example of that process. It began as an entire sentence asking for divine protection, and now it exists as a short, friendly word that many people say almost automatically, barely thinking about its meaning at all. Even the tone of goodbye has shifted over time. In many old cultures, farewells were serious, sometimes even solemn, because they were tied to real uncertainty and risk. Today, goodbye often carries a much lighter emotional tone. It sounds friendly. It sounds casual. It can be said with a smile, a laugh, or even jokingly, such as saying goodbye at the end of a fun conversation with a friend you know you will see again tomorrow. The word has essentially been softened by centuries of safe, everyday use, turning what was once a heartfelt blessing into something closer to a social habit. Still, some cultures continue to treat farewells with more ceremony than others. In many East Asian cultures, for example, saying goodbye can involve bowing, extended expressions of gratitude, or repeated exchanges of well wishes, especially in formal or respectful settings. In some Latin American and Mediterranean cultures, goodbyes can take much longer than expected, filled with hugs, extended conversation, and sometimes several attempts to actually leave. These traditions show that even though the word goodbye itself may have become casual in English, the emotional and social importance of parting has not disappeared everywhere. There is also something worth noting about the psychology behind why people created these words in the first place. Endings, even small ones like leaving a conversation, can create a tiny sense of uncertainty or discomfort. Having a set phrase or ritual to mark that moment, whether it is goodbye, adios, or sayonara, gives people a sense of closure. It signals clearly that this part of the interaction is complete, while also leaving the door open for future connection. In many ways, farewell words function like small emotional bookmarks, letting both people know that even though the conversation is ending, the relationship is not. So the next time you say goodbye to a friend, a coworker, or even a stranger you will likely never meet again, it might be worth remembering that you are echoing a phrase that once meant something much bigger. What began as a heartfelt request for divine protection has traveled through centuries of history, changing shape again and again, until it became the short, friendly word we use so casually today. It sounds simple, but its story is anything but. Like so many things we say without thinking, goodbye carries a quiet history most people never stop to consider. Thank you for watching this episode. If you have suggestions for our next videos, please share them in the comments below. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the lost history of everyday things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories that surprise us with their origins and ever-evolving stories.